Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm working on a project, and I hope it's of any use for any of you. If not, then it has been fun so far programming. So it's about command line tools, and there are several command line frameworks on cpan. And what you expect from them is good usage output, good error messages, and tab completion for shells, man pages, and argument validation maybe. And a good framework does everything for you. So who of you is using Z shell as a login shell? Okay. Who's using Bash? Anything else like fish or Windows command line? Okay. So there are already get-up-long. I guess everybody knows that. There's get-up-long descriptive if you want to have description for your options, but you don't have pod. So there's get-up-long descriptive pod. Where's Stefan? Stefan wrote this. It's not here. Stefan Winkler. There's pod usage. There's app command. App command can do subcommands and options, but not parameters. There's mousexapp. There's mousexapp command. There is mouseexapp command. And there is moexapp command. I think there's missing moexapp command. And there's amplify, that's pretty new. And probably much more. So why did I want to reinvent this whole thing? So yeah, trying to have fun with that. There is no complete wheel yet, only some parts that do some of it or most of it, but they don't all fit together. And I learned how to write a Z-shell completion last year. So there was this issue for the git-hub tool. I will talk about this later in the lightning talks. So somebody was asking for some kind of advanced Z-shell completion. And I answered, yeah, maybe I can do this in Z-shell. So I did it, and from then on, I somehow got addicted to this completion stuff. And so later, I was thinking of a command line tool for which tab completion would be very essential. And I used mousexapp for that. And I wrote mousexapp plugin Z-shell completion because there wasn't any so far. I decided against this module for other reasons that are not important. So should I just try another framework and write another Z-shell completion for it? Because if you search for Z-shell on MetaCpan, you get 5 results, and 3 results are from my module actually. So I started my project called AppSpec, a specification for command line tools. So it's a schema. You write it in a YAML file, or you can also just write a Perl data structure. And AppSpec run is the framework which you actually use to run your app. The user has to have it installed. And it has nested subcommands, options, parameters. It does validation of options and parameters. So you can say an option is of type file, then it will check if the file actually exists, or a directory, or if it is an integer, or an enum. It has tab completion for Bash and Z-shell, and maybe for other shells in the future. So it completes the subcommands, the option names, the option values, and the parameter values, if possible. And you also have some kind of dynamic completion you will see later. The AppSpec tool is what the author of the app has to have installed, because you use it to generate the pod and the shell completion. So this is how you call it. And you can actually use it to validate your schema. There's a schema, and you can validate the YAML file you write. So here's just a short example to see how the structure looks like. You have a name, that's the file name of your app. Then you specify a version of the schema. And the class is the class you have to implement for your app. You have a title, you have some global options. This is a flag. You have subcommands, and the op is the actual method which will be called if this subcommand is called. So let's just look at the usage output. So this is the normal usage output for help. You have the title, the usage line. It lists all subcommands and some global options. If I just call it like this, it says missing subcommands, and it shows you actually where this is missing in the usage line. That can be helpful if you have lots of options or parameters. So there's the subcommand cook, and it requires that you specify a drink to cook, and it says you so. So now we have completion of some static enums. So in the file you can specify enums. So we have the parameter drink, an option minus minus with, and an option minus minus sugar, which has an alias minus s. So now I type tab, and I get coffee or tea. So I choose tea. Now it lists me all the options. I say with, and now I can choose between several kinds of milks. So let's try cow milk. It says, sorry, no cow milk today, go vegan. So let's try another one. Almond milk, okay, and I also can use minus s to add sugar. So that basically works. You can also have external commands. So we have a subcommand palindrome, and the completion for the parameter should be actually the palindrome itself. So if you type tab, you want to get only palindromes. So I type tab, and then I get 14 lines of palindromes. So this command was just executed. And yes, it's a palindrome. So you can put anything you like in there, just query an API or something like that. You can also specify a method in your app. So this will be called like the actual method, which is called if you complete the command. And yeah, let's just show it. So there's a convert subcommand. It converts types of units, so temperature or distance. So I type tab, and I get distance or temperature. So I choose temperature, and if I type tab again, I can choose between temperatures units. So I say Celsius. So now I type tab, but nothing happening because I have to input the actual value, so there's no completion for that. Now if I type tab again, I will get completion of the source unit, but also, as you can see here, you get the actual calculated values inside of the completion, so you don't have to execute it anymore. So, but you can. In this implementation, for the implementation, you don't need to know any bash, so it's all happening inside your Pro app. the convert complete method is called with some additional arguments, and it tells you the name of the parameter the user wants to complete. And if it's the type of unit, you just return a list of units. If it's the source unit, you return the source units and descriptions. So in your completion implementation, you can return a list of strings. If you return a list of hashgraphs, then the description will also show up in the completion, like we just saw. And the target completion is a little bit more complicated because, as I showed, this will already do the completion itself. So yeah, I suggest to just look at the example files in the repository. It's not yet on CPAN, it's just on GitHub. Just check it out and play around with it. And I guess some things will still change, so it's not yet ready for CPAN. So are there any questions so far about that? I guess it was a little bit fast, I don't know. Any questions?
Tina, das ist richtig super. Also da kriege ich echt Herzklopfen, wenn ich sowas sehe. Das ist richtig toll. Weil gerade dieses Tab-Completion, das braucht man immer wieder bei den Command-Line-Tools. Ich tue irgendeine Kommandozeile schreiben, wo ich sage, ich möchte mich um 800 Kunden kümmern, sage, ja, der heißt R, keine Ahnung, R Langen, und da möchte ich da Tab drücken. Das ist einfach eine richtig tolle Idee. Und auch da was Externes einzubinden, wo ich dann sagen kann, das holt mir jetzt gerade aus einer aktuellen Datenbank irgendwas, was ich tatsächlich eintippen kann. Das ist richtig klasse.
Macht Spaß.
Ist das jetzt speziell auf Z-Shell oder geht das auch mit anderen Shells?
Das geht auch mit anderen Shells.
Okay.
But yeah, would have to. Just a second. So what you see here in Bash is actually a little trick, because Bash doesn't support any descriptions in completions. But I found a trick on Stack Overflow that just adds space dash dash space and the description. And inside of the completion script, you can check if you get only one result back. If you get only one result back for the completion, you know that you can strip off the description and return the string itself. So you have this nice description thing, which in that shell is built in. So it works. And yeah, if anybody wants to do the fish completion part or TC shell or anything, help is welcome. But there are still a lot of things to be implemented. So I could do another talk about that. Add more shells. Command plugins. So I'm writing a cool command line app, and somebody wants to write a plugin for that. That's not possible yet, but of course it's planned. The seller plugin, so you don't need to generate the port and completion yourself. You just say these will build. That would be nice. And ports to other languages, of course, because you have the advantage that you have a YAML file, and the framework itself, of course, has to be implemented in the language itself you want to port it to, but the completion generation and the port completion can be done in Perl still, because you're the author of the app and you can install Perl. So I recently started to port it to other languages, not Perl 6, but I did it in Bash. So I just started it, so it's not really functional. But how do we parse the spec? So we have a YAML file. There's no YAML file in Bash because nobody wants to write one. Even Ingi doesn't want to write one. So I converted to JSON, and there is a JSON parser in Bash. It's from Ingi. And write tests for my app, because there is test more bash. And to be able to do something like use test more, you need bash plus, which is also from Ingi. And I just want to show you that it works somehow. Completion works, and options work, and short options. What now? So I can just say proof test. So I took the test from my Perl example app, I converted that to JSON, and I'm testing this in bash. It's really bash. As you can see, it looks a lot like Perl. So, 5 minutes. That's a lot.
You were very worried about not having enough time.
So, what else can I show? Do you have any questions? Something you would like to see? So, I guess I'm finished with this talk. Thank you very much.